Today's video is about 5 noob mistakes that are super easy to avoid. Mistake number 1, the misuse or lack of use when it comes to thread lock. A lot of beginners don't know that they're supposed to use thread lock, or they don't know what thread lock is, and maybe they just don't know what type of thread lock they're supposed to use. But thread lock is really important when you're putting a screw into a metal part. You're going to want to put a little dab on that screw, and it'll keep the screw from backing out. Now, as far as the misuse of thread lock goes, putting way too much on a screw and never being able to get it out again is an issue, and putting it into plastic parts is an issue. Thread lock will weaken plastic parts. Number 2 on my list is a common mistake, and you may have even seen this one coming, but it's when you take your rig out, you get it all wet, you get it muddy, you get it nasty, and then you just throw it on the shelf and let it sit. While our electronics are waterproof and water resistant a lot of the time, our bearings and our screws and our gears and all of our metal parts are not rust and corrosion resistant. When you put your rig up all nasty and wet, what happens is rust starts building up in that muddy bearing and in those different parts, and eventually starts causing issues like binding, even breakage. Other problems like that can occur, and we want to avoid that as much as we can. This is probably the number one way to reduce the longevity of your RC vehicle. Now, I understand that we don't always have time to, break down and rebuild our rig every single time we get it wet, because that can take a long time, but you got to do something. What I usually do when I need to clean a nasty rig in a pinch is I'll go outside and I'll hose it off, being careful not to totally, blast the electronics, but I'll hose it off, I'll get all the mud off and all the surface stuff off the best I can. Then I'll bring it in, I'll dry the rig. I'll use my leaf blower a lot of the time, but you can use compressed air, you can use all sorts of things. Just you got to get it dry. That's probably the main thing. And then I'll just kind of squirt some WD-40 in areas where I think rust might be a susceptible issue. So around my bearings that are visible, around my drive shafts that are visible, places like that. I'll squirt a little WD-40 on there, help kind of displace any water that I might have missed, and hope for the best. Usually breaking it down and building it back up is the best way to deal with a nasty rig, but we don't always have time for that, and we got to do the best we can. All right, so for number 3 on my list, we're kind of going to build off of number 2 a little bit, but number 3 is just no maintenance. Some people just do not maintain their RC cars nearly enough or at all, and that is a huge, huge way to make sure that it does not last a very long time. Basically, you're going to want to maintain your RC car regularly. You're going to want to keep it clean, you're going to want to keep your bearings lubricated, and you're going to want to replace parts that wear out as needed. Continuing to run an RC car with worn out or broken parts is only begging for more trouble. You're going to wind up with more broken parts and more issues down the road than you had to begin with. Number 4, I might be calling out a lot of people, and a lot of you are probably coming from the mini or micro crowd, but if you're still using one of these to charge your batteries after being in the hobby for a while, then you're making a mistake, and here's why. So this charger right here is intended to get you started. It'll charge your battery for you, and it will balance charge your battery even, but it's very limited. It can't discharge, it can't do a storage charge, and honestly, this particular charger is meant for the battery that came with this particular charger. I don't know exactly how well they work at detecting peaks and stuff like that, but this is not the way to go in the long term. Eventually, and it's not a fun buy, it's not like a new rig, it's not exciting, but you are going to want to upgrade to a charger that has more capabilities. You're going to want something that can do a storage charge, something that can discharge, something that can charge faster, something that can let you select your amperage level and can charge all of the different kinds of batteries that you have. Now, this and LiPo safety, battery care and LiPo safety is a whole nother video that I'm actually probably going to make after this one. But if you are putting off a real charger because this is getting the job done in the short term, you're making a mistake, and your batteries will thank you for getting a better charger. Number 5 doesn't have to do with gear or any hobby experience. It affects all of us, and it's all of our responsibility, and it is to RC responsibly. Recently, I saw a video on social media of a kid skateboarding, and suddenly an X-Max of all things comes flying into the frame and almost hits the kid. This is the ultimate noob mistake that you can make. If we aren't responsible with our toy cars and trucks, then we're going to start losing fun areas to run them in. So with that being said, whether you're at the skate park, the mountain bike trails, hiking trails, BMX track, wherever it is you run your RC cars, you need to do so responsibly. Don't be a nuisance. Clean up after yourself. Don't be running your car around people. Fix your dents that you make in the ground at the BMX track, because that's why we got banned from all the ones in my area. People have just been tearing up their track. And just don't give RC car hobbyists a bad name. Be responsible with your RC vehicle. We're just people playing with toy cars and trucks. Should be harmless. So there were my 5 biggest noob mistakes that you can make in RC. If I missed any, or if there's any you think that I should have thought about, you should put them in the comments below. If you like this video, give me a like, and if you like this type of content, you should subscribe, because I post a video like this or some kind of RC video every week. It's always a lot of fun around here. Anyway, with that being said, I think that's a video, and we'll catch you in the next one.